The chrome bumper of the black Cadillac Escalade gleamed under the merciless Chicago sun like a promise wrapped in steel. Cindy Matthews didn't see luxury when she looked at it. She saw salvation in the form of a mirror, and right now, that was exactly what she needed. Her interview at Romano's, the most exclusive Italian restaurant in Chicago's Gold Coast, was in exactly 4 minutes. 4 minutes to transform from a broke waitress whose life was held together with safety pins and desperate prayers into someone who looked remotely employable. She crouched beside the passenger window, her fingers working frantically inside her wrinkled white blouse. The bra strap had been sliding down all morning, and the safety pin she'd MacGyvered as a temporary fix had finally surrendered to gravity and given up entirely. Come on," she muttered through gritted teeth, twisting her body at an angle that would have made a contortionist proud. "Just stay put for 2 hours. 2 hours, and then you can fall apart all you want." Inside the Escalade, Romeo Moretti watched the scene unfold with dark, predatory eyes that missed nothing. He'd been parked here for 20 minutes, waiting for his cousin Marco to finish collecting protection money from the jewelry store across the street. Standard Tuesday business. Boring, routine, necessary. His fingers drummed against the leather steering wheel as he monitored the street through tinted windows that let him see everything while revealing nothing. But the blonde woman currently using his $180,000 vehicle as a personal dressing room? That was unexpected entertainment. She had dirt smudged on her knees, a run in her stockings that stretched from ankle to thigh, scuffed shoes that had seen better decades. And she was talking to herself with the frantic energy of someone whose last nerve had packed its bags and left town. Romeo leaned back in his seat, a slight smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. In his world, a world of blood, money, and calculated moves, genuine moments were rare. Everything was a transaction, a power play, a chess piece being moved across the board. But this woman? She was pure, unfiltered chaos. "Okay, lipstick," she said to her reflection, pulling out a nearly empty tube that looked like it had survived a war. "You can do this, Cindy. Just look professional. Look like someone who knows what fork to use. Look like you didn't spend your last $7 on bus fare." She applied the lipstick with shaking hands, smudged it slightly, wiped the corner with her pinky, then smiled at her reflection with desperate hopefulness. That's when her face froze in horror. Wedged between her 2 front teeth, bold as a billboard, was a massive piece of spinach. "Oh, you have got to be kidding me!" Her voice cracked with disbelief. "Universe, seriously? Seriously?" Romeo's smirk widened. He should look away, should let her have this moment of private humiliation, should focus on the job. But something about her, the fire in those green eyes even as everything fell apart, the way she refused to give up even when the world seemed designed to knock her down, kept his attention locked. She clawed at her mouth, making faces that ranged from constipated to possessed, her finger digging between her teeth with zero grace and maximum desperation. Get out," she hissed at the spinach like it was a personal enemy. Romeo's finger hovered over the window button. This was a terrible idea. He had rules. Don't get involved with civilians. Don't break the fourth wall of his carefully constructed life. Don't let anyone see behind the mask. But those rules suddenly felt negotiable. He pressed the button. The window descended with a soft, mechanical hum that sounded like fate clicking into place. Cindy froze mid-dental excavation, one finger still jammed in her mouth, eyes going wide as dinner plates as she found herself staring directly at the most terrifyingly beautiful man she'd ever seen. Sharp jawline that could cut glass. Eyes like black coffee at midnight. Dark, intense, bottomless. A scar sliced through his left eyebrow, giving him a dangerous edge that sent warning signals screaming through her nervous system. Perfectly styled dark hair. And a suit that probably cost more than everything she owned, including her grandmother's fake pearl necklace. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Need some help with that? His voice was smooth, dark, rich like expensive whiskey. Or should I call a dental professional? Maybe an exorcist? Cindy's brain issued a crystal-clear command. Run. Her legs, drunk on humiliation and shock, completely ignored it. She slowly withdrew her finger from her mouth. Still no spinach. The bastard was holding on for dear life, and wiped it on her already ruined pants. A gesture she immediately regretted because now she looked disgusting and rude. She lifted her chin, scrambling for dignity from the bottom of an empty barrel. "If you happen to find my self-respect anywhere around here, let me know," she said, her voice only slightly strangled. "I think I dropped it somewhere between the bra malfunction and the vegetable extraction surgery." The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but something adjacent to human emotion flickered across those dangerous eyes. "The window was just sitting there," Cindy continued, words tumbling out like a dam had broken. "All shiny and reflective, judging me. I had to fix things. I had to—" She gestured vaguely at herself. "Attempt to look like a functional human being. So your solution was to seduce my car with lingerie adjustments and lipstick?" One dark eyebrow arched with amusement. "It was an accident. I don't normally perform strip shows for random luxury vehicles." She paused, her brain catching up to her mouth. "Well, not on Tuesdays anyway. Tuesdays are my dignified day. Clearly that's going well." This time he did smile. It transformed his entire face, softening the hard edges, making him look less like a threat and more like a man who understood the absurdity of life. But something in that smile also sent a shiver down her spine. Not fear exactly, but recognition. This man was dangerous in ways her broke, desperate brain couldn't even catalog. "Sounds like a case of broken mirrors, bad vegetables, and catastrophically bad timing," he said, leaning slightly toward the window. His cologne hit her, expensive, subtle, with notes of cedar and something darker she couldn't name. "The universe has a personal vendetta against me," Cindy muttered, then checked her phone. Her heart stopped. "Oh, sweet mother of, I'm late. I have a job interview. A serious, life-changing, please God let me afford ramen and rent interview." She looked at the building behind him, Romano's with its elegant awning and valet stand. "Then you'd better go make an impression," he said, his eyes tracking her face with unnerving intensity. "Though I have to say, if you bring half the entertainment value in there that you've provided out here, you might want to ask for a raise before you even start." Cindy's face burned. "Right. Yeah. I'll just go humiliate myself professionally now instead of recreationally." She turned to leave, then spun back, pointing at him with her phone. "And you, mister? Owns his own luxury car. Good luck with your whatever dangerous, expensive thing you're doing. Try not to run over any desperate women with spinach issues." Romeo's smile widened into something genuinely amused. "I'll do my best. Good luck, Miss Disaster. My name is Miss Disaster." She started backing away. "Also known as Cindy, Cindy Matthews. The girl who just used your car as a mirror and will now die of shame. Nice to meet you before my death. Romeo," he said simply. "Romeo Moretti." Something about the way he said his name made the air feel heavier, like it meant something, like it should mean something. But Cindy didn't have time to analyze the weird flutter in her stomach or the way his eyes seemed to follow her like a physical touch. She spun around and speed-walked toward Romano's, her broken heel clicking unevenly against the pavement, her heart hammering against her ribs. Behind her, Romeo watched until she disappeared through the restaurant's gold-trimmed doors. "Romeo Moretti." Marco's voice crackled through the car's Bluetooth, making Romeo finally look away. "We're done here. Package secured. Where are you?" "Still at the location," Romeo said, his eyes drifting back to the restaurant entrance. "Had an unexpected delay." "What kind of delay?" Romeo shifted the car into drive, pulling away from the curb. But his mind wasn't on the job anymore. "The interesting kind," he murmured. What Romeo didn't say, he owned Romano's, had owned it for 3 years, ever since taking it as payment from a debtor who'd made poor life choices. The restaurant was a legitimate front for some less legitimate operations, but it actually turned a profit. And in approximately 5 minutes, the woman who'd just used his car as a mirror was going to walk into an interview for a waitressing position, an interview he'd personally be conducting. Because the universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor after all. Romeo pulled into the private garage beneath Romano's, his mind already working through the angles. He should let his manager handle the interview. should stay in the shadows where he belonged, should forget about green eyes and spinach-stained teeth and the kind of raw authenticity that didn't exist in his world. Should. But Romeo Moretti had built an empire by knowing when to break his own rules. His phone buzzed. A text from his underboss, Vincent. Meeting tonight. The Calabrese family is making moves. We need to respond. Romeo typed back, I'll be there. 9 p.m. Then he pocketed his phone, straightened his tie, and headed toward the restaurant's private elevator. Cindy Matthews had no idea that the man behind the window was about to become the most dangerous complication of her life. And Romeo? Romeo had no idea that the broke waitress with spinach in her teeth was about to become his salvation. Cindy burst through Romano's ornate entrance like she was fleeing a crime scene, her breath coming in short gasps, her makeup probably smudged to hell, and her bra strap finally achieving total freedom by sliding down to her elbow inside her blouse. The hostess, a tall, elegant woman in a black dress that cost more than Cindy's entire wardrobe, looked up with the kind of polite smile that barely concealed judgment. "Can I help you?" Her tone suggested that help was the last thing she wanted to provide. "Interview," Cindy panted, trying to discreetly shove her bra strap back up while maintaining eye contact. "I have a 2 p.m. interview for the waitress position. Cindy Matthews." "I know I'm late. I'm so sorry. There was a situation with a car and some spinach and—" She forced herself to stop babbling. "I'm here now." The hostess's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Pity, maybe, or second-hand embarrassment. "Of course. Mr. Moretti is expecting you." Cindy's brain screeched to a halt. "I'm sorry, who?" "Mr. Moretti, the owner. He's conducting interviews today personally." She gestured toward a hallway. "Second door on the left. Try not to keep him waiting any longer." The blood drained from Cindy's face. Moretti. Romeo Moretti. Car window guy was Romeo Moretti, owner of Romano's. The man she'd just performed an accidental striptease for was about to interview her. "Oh, you have got to be—" Cindy caught herself. "Thank you. I'll just go die quietly in his office now." She walked down the hallway on unsteady legs, each step feeling like a march toward execution. The restaurant was beautiful, all rich mahogany, soft lighting, and the kind of expensive silence that money could buy. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. The scent of fresh bread and herbs hung in the air. It was the kind of place where Cindy's student debt came to laugh at her. She stopped at the second door, raised her hand to knock, then paused. Run. She could still run. There were other restaurants, other jobs, other ways to avoid dying of humiliation. But her bank account had $347 in it. Her rent was due in 5 days. Her roommate had already threatened to change the locks. She knocked. "Come in." That same dark, smooth voice from the car. Cindy pushed open the door and stepped into an office that looked like it belonged in a mob movie. Leather furniture, dark wood desk, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Michigan Avenue. And behind that desk, wearing a slight smirk that should be illegal, sat Romeo Moretti. He looked even more dangerous inside. The office lighting caught the sharp angles of his face, the intensity in those midnight eyes, the controlled power in the way he sat, like a predator pretending to be civilized. "Miss Matthews," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "Please sit down. We've already established you're excellent at making entrances." Cindy's face burned hot enough to cook pasta. "Listen, about outside. The bra adjustment, the spinach excavation, the use of my vehicle as your personal mirror." He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "All part of your interview strategy, I assume. Very memorable. Unconventional, but memorable." "I didn't know it was your car." The words burst out. "I didn't know you owned this place. I didn't know—" She stopped, taking a breath. "I'm sorry. That was unprofessional, all of it. I can leave if you want." "Sit down, Cindy." Something about the way he said her name, with that slight edge of command, made her legs fold automatically into the chair. He picked up a resume from his desk, her resume. The one she'd printed at the library because her printer had died 6 months ago, and joined her list of things she couldn't afford to replace. Cindy Matthews, he read aloud. Age 24, associate degree in hospitality from community college. 3 years experience at Denny's, 2 years at a diner in Pilsen that's since closed, and 6 months at a cocktail bar in Wicker Park. He looked up. You move around a lot. The businesses keep closing, Cindy said, lifting her chin. Turns out I'm a jinx. Every place I work eventually shuts down. So if you're superstitious, you should probably hire someone else. Or you're just good at picking dying establishments. His eyes didn't leave her face. Why Romano's? Because it's not dying. Because it's successful. Because I'm tired of working at places that can't make payroll. She paused. And because I'm desperate. I'm 3 weeks from being homeless. My car died, and my last job let me go when they're structured, which is corporate speak for we're broke, but won't admit it. Romeo's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Honesty. That's rare. I'm too tired to lie. Cindy slumped slightly in the chair. Look, I'm a good waitress. I work hard. I don't steal. I don't call in sick unless I'm actually dying, and I can carry 6 plates at once without dropping any. I'm not fancy, I don't know wine pairings, and I probably can't pronounce half the things on your menu. But I show up, I do the work, and I make customers feel like they matter. Even with spinach in your teeth. She couldn't help it. She laughed. A real exhausted laugh. Especially with spinach in my teeth. It makes me relatable. Romeo smiled. Actually smiled. Not the smirk, but something genuine. Tell me, Cindy. What would you do if a customer sent back a $200 bottle of wine because it wasn't quite right? I'd apologize, ask what they were looking for, and get them something better. Then I'd drink the returned bottle in the break room and wonder how people have $200 to waste on grape juice. And if a customer was rude to you? Smile, stay professional, and imagine them tripping on their way out. She paused. But only imagine it. I wouldn't actually trip them. Probably. Probably. Depends on how rude they were. Romeo stood up, walking around the desk. He moved like water, smooth, fluid, controlled. He leaned against the desk edge, closer now, and Cindy caught that cedar scent again mixed with something else. Danger, maybe. Or just expensive cologne. This restaurant isn't like your previous jobs, he said quietly. The clientele is particular, powerful people, people who expect discretion. I can be discreet. Can you? His eyes locked onto hers. If you saw something unusual, something that didn't make sense, could you forget about it? Something cold slithered down Cindy's spine. The question felt loaded, heavy with meaning she couldn't quite grasp. I'm good at minding my own business, she said carefully. I've worked in enough rough neighborhoods to know that sometimes the best thing you can see is nothing at all. Romeo studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded, returning to his chair. You start Monday, 5 p.m. Don't be late. Cindy blinked. Wait, what? I'm hired? Unless you've changed your mind? No, I just... She stood up quickly, then remembered herself. Thank you. Really, thank you, Mr. Moretti. Romeo. Romeo, she repeated, and the name felt strange on her tongue. Intimate somehow. One more thing. He pulled a card from his desk drawer and held it out. My private number. If you have any problems, with customers, with staff, with anything, you call me directly. Cindy took the card, her fingers brushing his. A spark of something electric shot up her arm. Why? She asked. Why give me your personal number? Romeo's eyes darkened. Let's just say I have a feeling you're going to be interesting to have around. Cindy left the office in a daze, the card burning in her pocket like a secret. She made it to the street before letting out a breathless laugh of disbelief. She had a job. She was going to make rent. She wasn't going to be homeless. And her new boss was the most dangerously attractive man she'd ever met, who for some inexplicable reason seemed interested. What she didn't see, Romeo watching her from the window, his expression unreadable. His phone buzzed. Vincent again. The Calabrese meeting. They want to discuss territory. It might get ugly. Romeo typed back, Let it get ugly, I'll handle it. But his eyes stayed on Cindy's retreating figure. He'd broken his cardinal rule: never get personally involved with employees, never blur the lines between business and whatever this was. But Romeo Moretti hadn't built an empire by following rules. He'd built it by knowing when to break them. And something told him Cindy Matthews was worth breaking every rule he had. What he didn't know yet: she was about to become his greatest weakness. And in his world, weakness got you killed. Monday arrived with the kind of humidity that made Chicago feel like it was sweating through its expensive suit. Cindy stood outside Romano's at 4:45 p.m., 15 minutes early because desperation had taught her that punctuality was the only currency she could always afford. She wore black pants she'd found at Goodwill, only one small stain, barely visible, and a white button-down shirt she'd ironed 3 times until it looked almost new. Her hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail. No spinach in her teeth. She'd checked 17 times. The back entrance, where staff entered, was down an alley that smelled like expensive garbage, if such a thing existed. A large man in a dark suit stood by the door, arms crossed, face expressionless. "Staff entrance?" Cindy asked hesitantly. He looked her up and down with cold eyes. "Name?" "Cindy Matthews. New waitress. I start today." He pulled out his phone, checked something, then nodded and opened the door. "Down the hall, second left. Ask for Maria." The hallway inside was nothing like the restaurant's elegant front. Concrete floors, fluorescent lighting, the industrial hum of kitchen equipment. It smelled like garlic, fresh bread, and something else: cigarette smoke and cologne. Cindy found the staff room and knocked. "Come in." A woman's voice, warm and tinged with an Italian accent. Maria turned out to be a short, round woman in her 50s with kind eyes and flour on her apron. She looked Cindy over and smiled. "Ah, you're the new girl. Romeo's hire. Come. I'll show you everything." "Romeo's hire," Cindy repeated, following her out. Maria gave her a knowing look. "He usually doesn't interview waitresses himself. That's my job. But he specifically asked to see you." She handed Cindy an apron and name tag. "You must have made quite an impression." If only you knew, Cindy thought, tying the apron. The next hour was a whirlwind of training. Maria showed her the table numbering system, the POS system, the wine list that read like a foreign language, and introduced her to the other staff. There was Tony, the head chef, a large man with tattoos covering both arms and a surprisingly gentle voice. Marco, the bartender, who had the same dark eyes as Romeo, and introduced himself as the cousin, and several other waitresses who sized Cindy up with expressions ranging from friendly to deeply suspicious. "Don't mind them," Maria whispered. "They're just protective. This place, it's family." The way she said family made it sound like more than just a word. By 5:30 p.m. the restaurant started filling up. Cindy was assigned to shadow a waitress named Angela, a tall brunette with sharp eyes and sharper heels, who made it clear through body language alone that Cindy was an inconvenience. "Just watch and learn," Angela said coldly. "Don't touch anything. Don't talk to customers. Don't embarrass us." Cindy bit back a response and followed. The dining room was even more beautiful at night. Soft lighting cast everything in gold. Well-dressed couples sat at intimate tables. The gentle clink of expensive silverware on expensive plates created a rhythm. Everything was perfect. Until 7 p.m. Cindy was watching Angela deliver drinks when she noticed them. 4 men in dark suits entering through the main entrance. But they didn't wait for the hostess. They walked straight through the dining room toward the back, and the hostess didn't stop them. One of them was Romeo. Another was Marco, the bartender cousin. The other 2 were strangers, older, harder, with the kind of faces that had seen things and done worse. They disappeared through a door marked private that Cindy hadn't noticed before. "Don't stare," Angela hissed, grabbing Cindy's arm. "Rule number 1, you don't see anything, understand?" "I wasn't." "You were. Don't." Angela's grip tightened. "Some things here are none of your business. Keep it that way if you want to keep this job." Cindy nodded, her heart hammering. For the next hour, she tried to focus on learning table numbers and how to properly hold a wine bottle. but her attention kept drifting to that private door. At 8:15 p.m., raised voices echoed from behind it. The entire restaurant seemed to tense. Waitresses moved faster. Tony emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands, his expression dark. Marco appeared behind the bar, no longer mixing drinks, just watching that door with coiled readiness. Then it opened. The two strangers emerged first, their faces red with anger. One of them was holding his hand. Cindy could see blood between his fingers. "You'll regret this, Moretti," the injured one shouted. "The Calabrese family doesn't forget." Romeo appeared in the doorway, perfectly calm, not a hair out of place, but something in his eyes made Cindy's blood run cold. This wasn't the amused man from the car. This wasn't even the professional boss from the interview. This was someone else entirely. "Tell your boss," Romeo said, his voice quiet but carrying through the now silent restaurant, "that Chicago has rules. He broke them. This was his warning. Next time, it won't be just his hand that bleeds." The men left, and slowly, impossibly, the restaurant resumed normal operations. Customers went back to eating as if nothing had happened, as if they hadn't just witnessed a threat delivered with terrifying calm. "Table 6 needs water," Angela said to Cindy, her voice shaking slightly. "Go, now." Cindy grabbed a pitcher with numb hands and approached table 6, an elderly couple who smiled at her pleasantly, as if the world hadn't just tilted on its axis. She filled their glasses, her mind reeling. What kind of restaurant was this? What had she just witnessed? And what the hell had she gotten herself into? At 10 p.m., her shift ended. Cindy changed out of her uniform in the staff room, her hands still trembling slightly. She grabbed her purse and headed for the back exit. "Cindy." She spun around. Romeo stood in the hallway, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, looking like he'd just finished a long day of perfectly normal legal business. "Mr. Moretti." "Romeo, I was just leaving." "Walk with me." It wasn't a question. They walked through the hallway in silence. Romeo opened a door she hadn't noticed before, his office, different from the interview room, smaller, more personal. A desk covered in papers, a safe in the corner. Photos on the wall, family photos, she realized. Romeo as a child with a woman who must be his mother. Romeo with a group of men in suits, all smiling, all dangerous looking. "Sit," he said. Cindy sat. Romeo poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a crystal decanter and handed her one. She took it because refusing felt like a bad idea. "You saw something tonight," he said. Not a question, a statement. "I didn't see anything." The lie came automatically. "Cindy." He sat on the edge of his desk, close enough that she could see the slight bruising on his knuckles. "Don't insult my intelligence. You saw. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Her throat felt tight. "I need this job." "That's not an answer." She met his eyes. "Then here's an answer. I don't know what I saw. I don't know what this place really is, and I'm smart enough to know that asking questions is probably a good way to end up bleeding like that guy's hand." Romeo's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Approval, maybe. "You're right. Questions are dangerous." He took a sip of his whiskey. "But you're already involved now, Cindy. The moment I hired you. The moment you walked through that door. The moment you saw what you saw. I can quit." Her voice was barely a whisper. "You could." He set down his glass. "But you won't. Because you need the money. Because you're 3 weeks from homelessness, remember? And because..." He leaned forward slightly. "You're curious. I can see it in your eyes. You want to understand." He was right. God help her, he was right. "What is this place?" she asked. "Really?" Romeo smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "It's a restaurant, a very good one. That's all you need to know for now. And the men, the blood, the threats, business disputes, they happen." He stood up, walked to the window overlooking the alley. "Chicago has many faces, Cindy. The one tourists see, the architecture, the lake, the deep dish pizza, and the one beneath, the one that runs on different rules." "Mob rules," Cindy said, the word feeling foreign on her tongue. Romeo turned to look at her, and for a moment she saw something vulnerable flash across his face. Then it was gone, replaced by that controlled mask. That's a dangerous word. But am I wrong? He walked back to her, stood close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Listen very carefully, he said softly. You have two choices. You can walk out that door right now. I'll pay you for tonight, give you a reference, and you'll never hear from me again. Or you stay. You work here. You do your job. You keep your eyes down and your mouth shut about things that don't concern you. And in return, you'll be protected. Paid well. Safe. Safe from what? His jaw tightened. From everything. From everyone. Because you're mine now, Cindy. You work for me, and I protect what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it sent a shiver down her spine for entirely different reasons. I need time to think, she managed. You have until tomorrow. He handed her an envelope. Tonight's pay, plus a bonus. Consider it a signing incentive. Cindy opened it. $500 for 4 hours of work. Romeo, this is too much. It's exactly what you're worth. His fingers brushed hers as he closed her hand around the envelope. Tomorrow, Cindy. Choose. She left in a daze, the envelope heavy in her purse, his words heavy on her mind. Outside, the Chicago night was cool against her flushed skin. She walked toward the bus stop, her mind spinning. She should run, should take the money and disappear. A car pulled up beside her. The Escalade. The window rolled down. Romeo looked at her from the driver's seat. Get in. I'll drive you home. I can take the bus. Get in, Cindy. She got in. They drove in silence through the glittering city. Cindy gave him her address, a rundown apartment building in Pilsen that looked worse at night than during the day. When they arrived, Romeo didn't immediately unlock the doors. You should know, he said quietly, staring straight ahead. Once you're in, really in, there's no easy way out. Are you trying to scare me? I'm trying to be honest. He turned to look at her. Because I don't want you to choose this and then regret it. I don't want. What? I don't want to be the reason you get hurt. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open in Cindy's chest. Why do you care? She whispered. You don't even know me. Romeo reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was so gentle, so at odds with everything else about him. That's the problem, he said. I want to. Then he unlocked the door. Cindy got out on shaky legs. Tomorrow, Romeo reminded her. She nodded and walked toward her building without looking back. Inside her tiny apartment, she counted the money again. $500, enough for rent, enough for food, enough to stop drowning for a little while. But it came with a price. Romeo Moretti wasn't just a boss. He was something else, something dangerous, something that should send her running. So why did she already know her answer? Why did she already know she was going to stay? Cindy returned to Romano's the next evening with a decision made and a terror that felt like ice water in her veins. She found Romeo in his office, paperwork spread across his desk, looking every inch the legitimate businessman except for the gun she could now see in a shoulder holster beneath his jacket. I'm staying, she said from the doorway. Romeo looked up, his dark eyes searching her face. You're sure? No, but I'm staying anyway. Something that might have been relief crossed his features. Then we need to establish some ground rules. Over the next week, Cindy learned the rhythm of Romano's. The restaurant operated on 2 levels, the visible and the invisible. During regular hours, it was exactly what it appeared to be, an upscale Italian restaurant serving Chicago's elite. But certain nights, certain meetings happened in the back rooms. Money changed hands. Deals were struck. And Cindy learned to see nothing. She was good at her job. The customers loved her. She had that rare ability to make millionaires feel like regular people, and regular people feel like millionaires. Tips were generous. Maria took her under her wing. Even Angela thawed slightly, and Romeo watched. She felt his eyes on her constantly, when she laughed with customers, when she efficiently handled a difficult table, when she tied her apron in the morning. He watched with an intensity that made her skin warm and her heart race. They didn't speak much beyond professional exchanges, but the air between them crackled with something unspoken. Then came Thursday night. "Cindy," Romeo appeared beside her station at 7:00 p.m. "I need you for something. I have 4 tables. Angela will cover them." His expression was unreadable. "Come with me." He led her to his office where a garment bag hung on the door. "What's this?" "A dinner, business associates." "I need you there." Cindy's stomach dropped. "As a waitress?" "As my date." The words hung in the air like a bomb. "Your what?" Romeo ran a hand through his hair, the first nervous gesture she'd ever seen from him. "There are people coming tonight, important people, dangerous people, and they're bringing complications. I need someone with me, someone who isn't part of this world, someone who makes me look human," Cindy supplied. "Yes." He met her eyes. "Exactly that. Human." Cindy crossed her arms. "And what do I get out of playing arm candy for your mob dinner party?" $2,000. Plus you keep the dress." He paused. "And my protection, which, after tonight, you might actually need." "That's comforting." "I'm not trying to comfort you. I'm being honest." Romeo stepped closer. "These men, they respect power, but they also respect normalcy. A man with a woman on his arm looks settled, stable, less likely to make reckless moves. So I'm a prop. You're a shield." His voice dropped. "And maybe, if I'm being completely honest, an excuse to have you close to me for an evening." Cindy's breath caught. "Romeo, the dress is your size. Maria helped me guess. Dinner starts at 8. Say yes, Cindy." She should say no. Should run. Should... Yes. The dress was emerald green silk, simple but elegant, with a neckline that hinted without revealing. It fit perfectly. Maria did her hair in soft waves and applied makeup that made Cindy look like an upgraded version of herself. When she emerged from the bathroom, Romeo was waiting in the hallway. He wore a charcoal suit that made him look like sin wrapped in expensive fabric. His eyes traveled over her slowly, and something dark and hungry flickered in their depths. "You look..." He cleared his throat. "Perfect. I look like I'm playing dress-up. You look like you belong." He offered his arm. "Ready?" "Not even a little bit." The private dining room was at the back of Romano's, a space Cindy had never seen. Mahogany panels, crystal chandeliers, a table set for 12. And already seated were some of the most intimidating people Cindy had ever seen. Men in expensive suits with dead eyes. Women dripping in jewels with smiles that didn't reach their faces. And at the head of the table, a man in his 60s with silver hair and a face like carved stone. "Moretti," the man said as they entered. "So good of you to join your own dinner party." "Salvatore." Romeo's voice was pleasant, but Cindy felt the tension in his arm. "Thank you for coming. Everyone, this is Cindy. Cindy, this is Salvatore Calabresi and his associates." Calabresi. The name from the bleeding man last week. Cindy's smile felt painted on as Romeo pulled out her chair. She sat, hyper-aware of the eyes assessing her, calculating her worth, her purpose. "A girlfriend, Romeo?" Salvatore's smile was sharp. "How domestic." "A man needs balance," Romeo replied smoothly, taking the seat beside Cindy. His hand found hers under the table, squeezed once. Warning or reassurance, she couldn't tell. Dinner began. Course after course of exquisite food that Cindy could barely taste. The conversation flowed around her. Talk of territories, of business arrangements, of mutual understanding. Every word felt coded, dangerous. Salvatore's eyes kept drifting to Cindy. "Tell me, my dear, how did you meet our Romeo?" Cindy felt Romeo tense beside her. She took a sip of wine for courage. "I used his car as a mirror to fix my bra," she said. It was very romantic. Silence crashed over the table. Then Salvatore laughed. Actually laughed, a booming sound that made everyone else relax fractionally. A woman with honesty. How refreshing. He raised his glass. "In our world, Romeo, honesty is rarer than loyalty." "You found a treasure." Romeo's hand tightened on hers. "Yes, I have." But across the table, a younger man, mid-30s, handsome in a cruel way, leaned forward with a predatory smile. "Forgive me," he said, his accent thick. "I am Enzo, Salvatore's nephew, and I must say, Romeo, you have exquisite taste." His eyes traveled over Cindy in a way that made her skin crawl. Perhaps too exquisite for one man to appreciate alone. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "Careful, Enzo." Romeo's voice was silk over steel. "You're admiring something that doesn't belong to you. I'm simply appreciating beauty." Enzo smiled wider. "Surely you don't mind sharing the view, unless—" He leaned back. "Unless there's something more here than just a pretty face at dinner. Unless this one actually matters." It was a test. Cindy realized it with crystal clarity. They were testing Romeo's weakness. And she was it. Enzo stood, walked around the table toward Cindy. "Perhaps the lady would like to dance. There's music after all." He extended his hand to her. "Unless Romeo objects?" Every eye turned to Romeo. Objecting would show weakness, show that Cindy was more than just a date. But allowing it— Cindy stood before Romeo could respond. "I'd love to," she said with a bright smile. "I haven't danced in forever." Romeo's jaw clenched, but he nodded slightly. Enzo led her to the small, cleared space where soft music played. His hand went to her waist, pulling her closer than appropriate. His other hand clasped hers too tightly. "You're very brave," he murmured in her ear. "Or very stupid. Which is it, Bella?" "Probably both," Cindy replied, her smile fixed. "I tend to make questionable life choices. Like Romeo Moretti?" His hand slid lower on her back. "Do you know what kind of man he really is? What he's done? The blood on those hands that held yours?" "I know enough." "Do you?" He spun her, brought her back against his chest. "He's a killer, Kara, a beautiful monster. And monsters don't love, they consume." Over Enzo's shoulder, Cindy could see Romeo. He sat perfectly still, but his knuckles were white around his wine glass. Their eyes met across the room. And in that moment, she saw it, the barely controlled rage, the possessiveness, the fear. He did care. This wasn't just about business or appearances. This was real. "You're wrong," Cindy said quietly to Enzo. "About monsters. Sometimes they're just men trying to protect what matters." Enzo laughed. "Such loyalty. Let's see how long it lasts when—" "Enough." Romeo's voice cut through the music. He was standing now, his hand extended toward Cindy. "The dance is over." It wasn't a request. Enzo smiled, but released her. "Of course, I wouldn't want to overstep." Cindy crossed to Romeo. His hand caught hers, pulled her close. Too close for propriety. His other hand went to her waist, anchoring her to him as they began to move to the music. "Did he touch you?" Romeo's voice was barely controlled fury. "Nothing I couldn't handle." "Cindy." His eyes burned into hers. "Did he touch you?" "He was testing you. Testing us. I handled it." Romeo's hand tightened on her waist. "If he had hurt you—" "But he didn't." She looked up at him, saw the barely leashed violence in his expression. "Romeo, I'm fine. You shouldn't be here. This was a mistake. I shouldn't have—" He stopped, his jaw working. "Shouldn't have what?" "Shouldn't have let you anywhere near this, near me." His voice dropped to a whisper. "You're not safe with me, Cindy. You'll never be safe with me. Maybe I don't want safe." His eyes darkened. "Don't say that." "Why not? It's the truth." She stepped closer, their bodies nearly flush. "You think I don't see what this is? You think I don't understand? You don't—" "I understand enough." Her heart hammered. "I understand that you're dangerous, that this world you live in could swallow me whole. But I also understand that when you look at me, it's the first time I've ever felt seen. Really seen." Romeo's control cracked. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. "Cindy, A gunshot shattered the moment. The music stopped. Everyone froze. Salvatore stood, a smoking gun in his hand pointed at the ceiling. "Forgive the interruption," he said calmly. But I believe we've had enough entertainment for the evening. Romeo, shall we discuss business? Romeo's hand dropped from Cindy's face, but he didn't step away. Of course. Your woman should leave. This conversation isn't for delicate ears. She stays. Romeo's voice was absolute. Anything you say to me, you can say in front of her. Salvatore's eyes narrowed. That's unwise. That's my choice. Tension crackled through the room like electricity before a storm. Finally, Salvatore smiled. Very well, let her hear how her man conducts business. Let her see the monster she's so eager to defend. Romeo's hand found Cindy's again. Sit down, he murmured. Whatever you hear, whatever you see, don't react. Can you do that? Cindy nodded, not trusting her voice. They sat. Salvatore's men produced briefcases, spreadsheets, maps of Chicago divided into territories like a war zone. And Cindy listened as they discussed things that made her blood run cold. Protection rackets. Money laundering. Shipments of merchandise she suspected had nothing to do with restaurant supplies. Romeo negotiated with cold precision, giving nothing, taking everything, his hand never leaving hers beneath the table. This was his world, this darkness, this violence barely contained in expensive suits and polite language. And the most terrifying part? She wasn't running. At midnight, the meeting ended. Salvatore stood, straightened his jacket. We have an understanding then, Romeo. The Calabrese family will respect your territories, and you will reconsider your stance on the dockside warehouses. I'll consider it, Romeo replied, which Cindy was learning meant absolutely not. Good. Salvatore's eyes drifted to Cindy one last time. Keep your woman close, Moretti. In our world, what we love becomes our weakness. Or our strength. Salvatore laughed. We'll see which one she is soon enough. They left. All of them. And suddenly the room was empty, except for Romeo and Cindy and the wreckage of dinner. Romeo released her hand, stood, walked to the window. His shoulders were rigid, his hands clenched. You should go, he said without turning. Maria will drive you home. Romeo? Please. His voice cracked slightly. Just go. Cindy stood, walked to him, put her hand on his back, felt him flinch. I'm not going anywhere, she said quietly. He turned, and the anguish in his eyes nearly broke her. You heard everything. I saw you protecting your territory, your people, your world. My world is darkness, Cindy. Violence. Blood. He grabbed her shoulders, not rough but desperate. I've killed men, more than I can count. I've done things that would make you run screaming if you knew the details. Then tell me. What? Tell me. She met his eyes steadily. Tell me everything, all of it, because I'm tired of pieces and hints. If I'm in this, if I'm yours like you keep saying, then I deserve the truth. Romeo stared at her for a long moment. Then he released her, walked to his desk, pulled out a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. Sit down, he said. Because once I start talking, there's no going back. Cindy sat, and Romeo told her everything. His father, who'd built the Moretti Empire on blood and loyalty. His mother, who'd died when he was 12, a rival family's message delivered in bullets. How he'd taken over at 23 when his father had a heart attack. How he'd consolidated power, eliminated threats, built something stronger. How he'd tried to go legitimate, but the pull of the old ways was too strong. How he'd killed his first man at 17 and hadn't slept well since. How every decision was calculated, every relationship transactional, every moment a chess move. Until her. You, he said, his voice rough, are the first thing in 10 years that wasn't about strategy. You used my car as a mirror and had spinach in your teeth, and you were so real, so human, so unlike anything in my world. Cindy's eyes burned with unshed tears. Romeo. And now I've dragged you into this, into danger, into... He stopped, looked away. I should let you go, should pay you off, send you away, keep you safe. But you won't. No. He met her eyes again. Because I'm selfish. Because I want you close. Because when I look at you, I remember what it feels like to be something other than a monster. Cindy stood, crossed to him, cupped his face in her hands. Then be selfish, she whispered. Keep me close. Let me decide what I can handle. Cindy. She kissed him, cut off his protests, his warnings, his fears with her lips on his. For a heartbeat, he froze. Then he pulled her against him with a desperation that stole her breath. His hands tangled in her hair. His mouth moved over hers like a man drowning, and she was air. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Romeo pressed his forehead to hers. You're mine now, he breathed. You understand that? In my world, that means something. It means I protect you. It means anyone who touches you answers to me. It means I'm yours, Cindy finished. And you're mine. That's how this works, right? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Yes. Then stop trying to push me away. I'll never stop trying to keep you safe. That's different. She smiled. That I can live with. He kissed her again, softer this time. A promise instead of desperation. When they finally left the restaurant at 2 a.m., Romeo's hand firmly clasping hers, Cindy knew everything had changed. She'd seen the darkness, heard the truth, understood the danger, and she'd chosen to stay anyway. What she didn't know, Enzo Calabrese sat in his car across the street watching them leave together. So, he said into his phone, Romeo Moretti has found a weakness after all. On the other end, his uncle Salvatore laughed. Then we know exactly how to break him. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of stolen moments and dangerous normalcy. Cindy worked her shifts at Romano's, and Romeo found excuses to be near her, checking on tables, discussing wine selections, his hand brushing hers as he passed. They didn't hide it anymore. The staff knew, the regular customers suspected. And in Romeo's world, word traveled fast. You're making him soft, Marco told her one night, his tone somewhere between warning and approval. In 10 years, I've never seen him smile like he does when you walk in. Is that bad? Marco's expression darkened. In our world? Yes, soft gets you killed. But Romeo didn't seem to care. He took her to his penthouse overlooking the lake, all floor-to-ceiling windows and expensive emptiness that felt more like a museum than a home. I don't really live here, he admitted, pouring wine. I exist here. There's a difference. Cindy explored, touching the spines of unread books, the cold marble counters. It's beautiful, but lonely. That's an accurate description of most of my life. He came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. Until you. She turned in his embrace. Romeo, I need to ask you something. The Calabrese family, Enzo, that dinner, what's really happening? His jaw tightened. Territory disputes. Salvatore wants control of the dockside warehouses. They're worth millions in shipping access. And you won't give them up. I can't. Those warehouses are how I'm transitioning to legitimate business. Legal imports, real trade. If I give them to Salvatore, I'm back to only dirty money. You're trying to go straight? I'm trying to build something that doesn't require violence to maintain. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Something I'm not ashamed to leave behind someday. For who? For you. The words were barely a whisper. For us. If there can be an us. Cindy's heart clenched. There's already an us. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, lifting her onto the counter. His hand slid up her thighs, and she gasped against his mouth. His phone rang. Romeo pulled back with a curse, checked the screen. His expression went cold. I have to take this. He walked to the window, spoke in rapid Italian. Cindy caught only fragments. Warehouse. Tonight. Handle it. When he hung up, the tender man was gone. The boss was back. I need to go. There's a situation. What kind of situation? The kind you don't need to worry about. He grabbed his jacket. Stay here. I'll be back in a few hours. Romeo, please, Cindy, just trust me. He left. Cindy waited an hour, then 2. Then she did something stupid. She called Marco. Where is he? She demanded. Silence. Then, you don't want to know. Tell me anyway. Dockside warehouse. But Cindy, don't. She hung up, grabbed her jacket, and called an Uber. The warehouse district was exactly as dangerous as it looked in movies. Dark, abandoned, the kind of place where bad things happened and nobody asked questions. Cindy found the address Marco had reluctantly given her. Black SUVs were parked outside. Men in dark clothes stood guard. She should turn back. Should. A hand clamped over her mouth. She tried to scream, but another hand pinned her arms. Well, well, Enzo's voice purred in her ear. Romeo's little pet, all alone. How careless of him. Terror shot through her. She bit down hard on his hand. Enzo cursed, released her mouth, but kept her arms locked. Feisty, I like that. Let me go. I don't think so. He dragged her toward a black car. See? You're going to help me teach Romeo a lesson about respecting the Calabrese family. Inside the warehouse, Romeo stood facing 5 of Salvatore's men. The situation was tense but controlled, a negotiation about shipment schedules, nothing more. Then his phone buzzed. A photo. Cindy. Enzo's hand in her hair. A gun to her temple. The message. The warehouses, or her brains decorate my car. You have 1 hour. Everything inside Romeo went cold, then hot, then into a space beyond rage. We're done here, he told Salvatore's men, his voice deadly calm. But we haven't. I said we're done. He called Marco. Get everyone, every soldier we have, and find Vincent. Tell him it's war. Within 30 minutes, Romeo had assembled 15 armed men. They traced Enzo's location through contacts, bribes, and threats. An abandoned factory in Englewood. Romeo drove like the devil himself was chasing him, his mind stuck on one image, Cindy's terrified face. He'd promised to protect her, promised she'd be safe, and he'd failed. At the factory, Enzo had Cindy tied to a chair in the center of an empty room. He circled her slowly, enjoying her fear. Romeo will come for you, he said, and when he does, we'll kill him. Use you as bait, eliminate the competition, take his territories. Simple. He'll kill you first, Cindy said, trying to keep her voice steady. Such faith, Enzo laughed. Let's test it. He pressed his gun to her shoulder, not to kill, just to hurt, and fired. Cindy's scream echoed through the factory. Blood bloomed across her shirt. Pain exploded through her body like fire. That's one, Enzo said calmly. Every 10 minutes, another bullet. Eventually, Romeo arrives to find you dead. Or he gives up and you die anyway. Either way. The door exploded inward. Romeo stood in the doorway, gun raised, eyes absolutely dead. Step away from her, he said, his voice devoid of humanity, or I paint these walls with your skull. Enzo smiled, pressed his gun to Cindy's head. Drop your weapon or... Romeo fired. The bullet took Enzo in the shoulder, spinning him away from Cindy. Before he could recover, Romeo was across the room, his gun pressed under Enzo's chin. You touched what's mine, Romeo said softly. You hurt her. That's a death sentence. Kill me and Salvatore will... I don't care. Romeo's finger tightened on the trigger. You hurt her. Romeo. Cindy's voice weak but clear. Don't become more of a monster for me. He looked at her, blood-soaked, trembling, crying, and something cracked in his chest. Please, she whispered. I need you, not the monster. You. Romeo's hand shook. Then he lowered the gun. Get out, he told Enzo. Tell your uncle this is over. The warehouses stay mine. And if anyone touches her again, I will burn the Calabrese family to the ground and salt the earth where you stood. Enzo stumbled away, clutching his shoulder. Romeo dropped to his knees beside Cindy, cutting her bonds with shaking hands. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I should have... Shut up and get me to a hospital, Cindy managed through gritted teeth. He carried her to his car, drove like hell itself was chasing them, called his personal doctor, a man who asked no questions and kept no records. At Romeo's penthouse, the doctor removed the bullet, stitched the wound. She's lucky, Missed everything vital. She'll heal. When they were alone, Romeo sat beside the bed, holding Cindy's hand like she might disappear. "I almost lost you," he said hoarsely. "But you didn't. Because you were strong. Because you—" His voice broke. "Cindy, I can't do this. Can't put you in danger. Can't—" "Romeo Moretti, if you try to push me away right now, I will shoot you with your own gun." He laughed, a broken sound. "You were just shot because of me. And you saved me. That's what matters." She squeezed his hand. "I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together now. Even after tonight? Especially after tonight." She pulled him closer. "Because tonight I saw you choose me over revenge. Choose humanity over the monster. That means something." Romeo kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "I love you," he whispered. "God help me. I love you." "I love you too," Cindy breathed. "My beautiful monster." Outside, Marco stood guard. Inside, Vincent coordinated their response to the Calabrese family. And in a hospital across town, Enzo made a phone call. "She's his weakness, Uncle. Use her right, and Romeo Moretti will give us everything." Salvatore smiled. "Oh, I intend to." Cindy recovered slowly. The bullet wound healed, leaving a scar she traced in mirrors, a permanent reminder of the price of loving Romeo Moretti. Romeo wouldn't leave her side. He moved her into his penthouse, hired guards, installed security systems. The cage was gilded, but it was still a cage. "I need to work," she told him after a week. "Not yet. Romeo, I'm going crazy here. You almost died. And sitting in this apartment won't change that." She stood, wincing slightly. "I need normal. I need my life back." His jaw tightened. "Your life almost got you killed." "No. Your life almost got me killed. There's a difference." The words hit like a slap. Romeo's face went carefully blank, the mask he wore when something hurt too much to show. "You're right," he said quietly. "Which is why maybe we should—" "Don't." Cindy crossed to him. "Don't you dare finish that sentence. We're not ending this because it's hard. It's not hard, Cindy. It's impossible." He gestured around them. "This is my world. Violence, danger, enemies who will use anyone I care about as a weapon against me. Then teach me to protect myself. Make me less of a target. That's not how this works. Then change how it works." Her voice rose. "You keep saying you want to go legitimate. So do it. Walk away from the family business." Romeo laughed bitterly. "You don't just walk away from the Mafia, Cindy. There's no exit interview, no 2 weeks notice. You're in until you're dead, or everyone who knew you is dead. Then we make it work. Together. I can't ask you to—" A knock interrupted them. Marco entered, his expression grim. "We have a problem. Salvatore's called a sit-down. Tomorrow night. He's demanding you attend." "What does he want?" "To discuss terms of peace." Marco's tone suggested he didn't believe it for a second. Romeo's eyes narrowed. "It's a trap." "Probably. But if you don't go, it's an insult. That means war." After Marco left, Romeo paced like a caged animal. "He's going to demand the warehouses, or worse." "What's worse?" Romeo looked at her and Cindy saw the answer in his eyes. "Me," she whispered. "He's going to demand you give me up. I'll never. You might have to." Her voice shook. "If it means protecting your family, your people, you might have to choose." "There's no choice. I choose you, always you. Even if it means people die?" Romeo's silence was answer enough. The next night, Cindy insisted on accompanying him to the sit-down at a neutral location, a private club downtown. Romeo brought Marco and Vincent. Salvatore brought Enzo, freshly bandaged, and 6 others. They sat across from each other at a long table, tension thick enough to choke on. "Romeo," Salvatore began pleasantly, "let's discuss our future. Let's. The warehouses. I want them. You want peace. Simple exchange." "No." Salvatore's smile didn't waver. "Then let me propose alternative terms. You keep your warehouses, I keep my territory, and you end your relationship with Miss Matthews." Cindy's blood ran cold. Romeo's expression was stone. "Explain." She's a distraction, a liability. She makes you weak, makes you sloppy. For the good of both our families, for peace in Chicago, she needs to go. She's not up for negotiation. Everything is negotiable, Romeo. Salvatore leaned forward. Here are your choices. End it with the girl voluntarily. She walks away unharmed with enough money to start over somewhere far from here. Or, refuse, and I'll take her from you piece by piece until there's nothing left to love. Romeo stood so fast his chair crashed backward. You threaten her again and what? You'll start a war you can't win? Kill me and unite every family in Chicago against you? Destroy everything your father built? Salvatore's voice hardened. I'm offering you a peaceful solution. Take it. No. Romeo. Enzo smiled cruelly. Be reasonable. She's pretty, sure. But she's just a waitress. You can find another. You can't find another empire. She's not just anything. Romeo's voice could cut diamond. She's everything. Then you're a fool. Salvatore stood. You have 48 hours. End it, or I end her. Your choice. They left. In the car afterward, Cindy and Romeo sat in silence. You have to do it, Cindy finally said. What? End it. Send me away. I won't let you destroy everything for me. Cindy, I mean it, Romeo. I love you, but I won't be responsible for people dying, for your family's empire crumbling. None of that matters without you. She took his face in her hands. Yes, it does. Your people depend on you. Your family's legacy. My family's legacy is blood and violence. You're the first good thing I've had in a decade. I'm not giving that up. You might not have a choice. Romeo pulled her into his arms, held her like she might disappear. Then we run, leave Chicago, start over somewhere, leave all of this behind. They'll find us. You said it yourself. You don't just walk away. Then I'll fight. I'll go to war if I have to. And people will die. People always die in my world, Cindy. At least this time it'll be for something that matters. She pulled back to look at him. You really mean that? I've never meant anything more. He kissed her desperately. I love you. I'm not letting you go. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Cindy felt tears slip down her cheeks. Together. What they didn't know, Salvatore had no intention of waiting 48 hours, and Enzo had already set the next phase in motion. The pregnancy test sat on Romeo's bathroom counter like a bomb. 2 pink lines. Cindy stared at it, her world tilting sideways. Pregnant, with Romeo Moretti's child, in the middle of a Mafia war. Perfect timing, universe, she whispered. Just perfect. She'd been feeling off for weeks, nauseous, exhausted, emotional. She'd blamed it on stress, on the bullet wound, on fear. But her period was 3 weeks late, and finally she'd bought a test. Now she had to tell Romeo, who was currently downstairs in a meeting about how to fortify their defenses against the Calabrese family. She walked down to find Romeo's penthouse filled with men, Marco, Vincent, soldiers she didn't know. Maps of Chicago spread across tables, guns being cleaned, the machinery of war. Romeo looked up when she entered, his expression softening briefly before returning to business mode. We need to talk, Cindy said, privately. Something in her voice made Romeo immediately excuse himself. They went to his bedroom. What's wrong? He asked, instantly alert. Cindy handed him the test. Romeo stared at it, then at her, then back at it. You're pregnant. Yes. He sat down heavily on the bed, the test clutched in his hand like a lifeline. How long? 6 weeks, maybe. I don't know exactly. Silence. Romeo's face was unreadable. Cindy felt panic rise. Say something, please. I'm going to be a father. His voice was barely a whisper. Then louder, with wonder. I'm going to be a father. Romeo, the timing is... He stood, pulled her into his arms. It's terrible. It's perfect. It's... He laughed, a sound caught between joy and terror. Cindy, we're having a baby. In the middle of a war. Then we end the war. His voice hardened with determination. Today, now, whatever it takes. How? By giving Salvatore what he thinks he wants. Romeo's eyes burned with intensity. The warehouses. He can have them. I'll sign them over, walk away, focus on legitimate businesses, build something safe for our child. He also wants me gone. That's the one thing he'll never get. Romeo's hand went to her still flat stomach. You're carrying my child. That makes you untouchable. In our world, family is everything. Even Salvatore can't. An explosion shook the building. Glass shattered. Alarm shrieked. Shouts erupted from downstairs. Romeo pushed Cindy behind him, pulling his gun. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Romeo. He kissed her hard. I love you. Both of you. I'll be back. He was gone. Cindy locked the door with shaking hands. More explosions. Gunfire. The sounds of war coming to Romeo's home. She grabbed her phone, dialed Marco. What's happening? The Calabrese family. They're hitting us. Multiple locations. The restaurant. The warehouses. Here. It's all out war. Where's Romeo? Fighting. Cindy, stay hidden. They're coming for... The line went dead. Cindy's heart hammered. She pressed her hand to her stomach. It's okay, she whispered to the tiny life inside her. Your daddy will protect us. The bedroom door exploded inward. Enzo stood in the doorway, gun raised, smiling. Hello again, Bella. Downstairs, Romeo fought like a demon. He'd killed 3 of Salvatore's men already, his white shirt painted red. Marco fought beside him. Vincent coordinated their defense, but they were outnumbered. We need to fall back, Vincent shouted. Cindy's upstairs. We'll get her, but we need... Romeo's phone buzzed. A video message from an unknown number. He opened it. Enzo had Cindy on her knees, gun to her head. Come alone to the old meatpacking plant on Halstead. You have 30 minutes, or I kill her and the baby. Yes, Romeo. We know about the baby. Surveillance is wonderful, isn't it? Romeo's blood turned to ice. They knew. They'd weaponize his unborn child. I'm going, he told Marco. It's a trap. I don't care. Romeo's eyes were dead. They have Cindy. They have my child. I'm going. Then we're coming with you. No, I need you here, fortifying our positions, protecting our people. This is between me and Salvatore. Romeo drove alone through Chicago's dark streets, his mind a storm of rage and fear and determination. He'd built his empire on violence. Maybe it was fitting it would end that way too. But Cindy would live. The baby would live, whatever it took. The meatpacking plant was exactly as abandoned and terrifying as expected. Romeo entered, gun drawn, every sense on high alert. Salvatore waited in the center of the vast space. Enzo beside him, gun pressed to Cindy's temple. She was bloody, bruised, but alive. Her eyes met Romeo's, not fear, but fury. Right on time, Salvatore said. Drop your weapon. Romeo did. Kick it away. He did. Good. Now let's talk about terms of your surrender. Let her go. This is between us. Oh, Romeo. She's exactly the point. Salvatore smiled. You see, I don't actually want your warehouses. I want your complete submission. Your family absorbed into mine. You working for me. Never. Then she dies. The baby dies. And I systematically hunt down everyone you've ever cared about until you're alone and broken. Salvatore's voice was pleasant, conversational. Or you bend the knee, swear fealty, give me everything, and I let her live. Romeo looked at Cindy. She was shaking her head, tears streaming. Don't, she mouthed. Don't do it. But Romeo had already made his choice. He dropped to one knee. I submit. The Moretti family is yours. Just let her go. Salvatore laughed. How touching, how... Cindy moved. She'd been working her bonds loose while they talked. Now she twisted, grabbed Enzo's gun hand, bit down hard. He screamed. The gun fired wild. Romeo lunged. Chaos erupted. Salvatore drew his weapon, but Romeo was faster, tackling him. They grappled. A shot fired, blood sprayed. More gunfire from the doorway. Marco and Vincent, ignoring orders, coming anyway. In the confusion, Cindy grabbed Enzo's dropped gun, pointed it at him as he advanced on her. "You shot me once," she said, her voice shaking. "Not again." She fired. Enzo went down. When the smoke cleared, Salvatore lay dead. Romeo stood over him, blood-covered, breathing hard. It was over. 1 month later, Cindy stood in Romeo's office at Romano's. The restaurant was closed for renovations after the attack. Romeo was signing papers, transferring his illegal operations to trusted associates, selling off criminal assets, building legitimate businesses. "It's done," he said, setting down the pen. "I'm out. Really out. No more mafia, no more violence. Just restaurants, real estate, legal trade. Can it really be that simple? No. There will be challenges, people testing me, trying to pull me back in. But I have motivation now." He pulled her close, his hand on her growing belly. "This, you two. That's worth more than any empire." Cindy kissed him. "I'm proud of you." "I'm terrified." He laughed shakily. "I have no idea how to be a father, how to be normal." "We'll figure it out together." "Together," Romeo agreed. "Always together." Outside, Marco lit a cigarette, watching them through the window. Vincent joined him. "Think he'll make it?" Vincent asked. "Living clean." "If anyone can," Marco said. "It's Romeo." Love changed him, made him human again. Let's hope that's enough. Inside, Romeo and Cindy planned their future, a wedding, a nursery, a life built on hope instead of fear. The monster was learning to be a man, and for the first time in his violent life, Romeo Moretti was happy. Claro. Vou continuar agora com os capítulos finais. 3 months had passed since the war ended. Cindy's belly was now unmistakably round, and Romeo had transformed from mob boss to expectant father with an intensity that was almost comical. "You need to rest," he said for the 1,000th time, adjusting pillows behind her. "Romeo, I'm pregnant, not dying." The doctor said I'm healthy, stop hovering." But she smiled, taking his hand and placing it on her stomach. "Feel that?" A kick, strong and determined. Romeo's face transformed with wonder. "She's feisty." "Like her mother," Cindy laughed. "Or maybe like her father when someone threatens his territory. Our daughter will never have to worry about territories or wars." His voice was firm. "I'm building her a different world." And he was. The legitimate businesses were thriving. Romano's had expanded to 3 locations. The real estate investments were paying off. Romeo Moretti was becoming respectable. But the past had a long memory. Maria appeared in the doorway of the penthouse, her expression worried. "Romeo, there's someone here to see you. She says it's urgent." "Who?" "Isabella Vittorio." Romeo's face went pale. Cindy noticed immediately. "Who's Isabella?" "My former fiancée," Romeo said quietly. "From before. It was arranged by the families." A beautiful woman in her 30s entered, designer clothes, cold eyes. She looked at Cindy with barely concealed disgust, then at Romeo. "Romeo, it's been a long time." "Isabella, what do you want?" "To save you from making the biggest mistake of your life." She gestured at Cindy. "This, a pregnant waitress? This is what you threw away your legacy for?" "Watch your mouth," Romeo warned. "The families are talking, Romeo. They say you've gone soft, weak, that you let a nobody turn you into a civilian." Isabella's voice dripped venom. "Your father would be ashamed. My father would be dead either way. I chose a different path. You chose weakness." Isabella turned to Cindy. "Do you know what he was before you? Powerful, feared, respected. Now he's a joke. And when they come for him, and they will, you and that baby will be the reason he can't defend himself." Cindy stood, despite Romeo's hand trying to hold her back. "He doesn't need to defend himself with violence anymore. He's built something real, something that won't get him killed." "How naive." Isabella laughed. "You think the Mafia just lets people leave? You think the enemies he made just forget? They're waiting, watching. And when they strike, enough." Romeo's voice cut like a blade. "Get out, Isabella, now. I'm trying to help you. You're trying to manipulate me. It won't work. My life is here now. With Cindy. With our daughter. That's final. Isabella's eyes hardened. You'll regret this. When your pretty little family is bleeding because you were too weak to protect them, remember I warned you. She left in a storm of expensive perfume and bitter threats. Cindy's hands shook. Romeo, is she right? Are we still in danger? No. But his voice lacked conviction. I've made peace with the families. We're protected. But? Romeo sighed. But there are always loose ends. People who hold grudges. Enemies who won't forget. That night, Cindy couldn't sleep. She stood by the window, watching Chicago's lights, her hand on her belly. Romeo found her there. Come back to bed. I'm scared, she admitted. What if Isabella's right? What if choosing me, choosing this life, makes you vulnerable? Then I'm vulnerable. I'd rather be vulnerable and human than invincible and alone. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands covering hers on her stomach. I love you. Both of you. That's worth any risk. Even death? Even death. He kissed her neck. But it won't come to that. I promise. 2 weeks later, during a routine checkup, the doctor's expression turned serious. The baby's position has shifted, she said carefully, and there are some concerns about Cindy's blood pressure. I want to monitor this closely. Any stress could trigger early labor. How early? Romeo demanded. She's 7 months, viable but risky. Cindy needs complete rest. No stress, no excitement, no... I'll make sure of it, Romeo interrupted. But stress found them anyway. A package arrived at the penthouse. No return address. Inside, photos of Cindy at the doctor's office, at the grocery store, walking in the park. Someone was following her. The note said, Your weakness is showing, Moretti. How much is their safety worth? Romeo called an emergency meeting. Marco, Vincent, and what remained of his trusted inner circle gathered. It's Antonio Greco, Vincent said grimly, Salvatore's brother. He's been quiet since the war, but he's making moves now. What does he want? Revenge. Blood for blood. He's saying you killed his brother, so he'll kill your family. Cindy, listening from the doorway despite Romeo's orders to rest, felt ice flood her veins. He can't get to us here, Romeo said. Security is... He doesn't need to get close. Marco interrupted. He's patient. He'll wait for the baby to be born, for you to let your guard down, and then nothing. Romeo's voice was steel. Because I'm ending this, tonight. Romeo, no, Cindy started. I won't let him threaten you, threaten our daughter. Romeo stood. I'm going to make him an offer. Money, territory, whatever he wants. But this ends. And if he refuses? Romeo's silence was answer enough. He left with Marco and 3 others, leaving Vincent and 2 guards to protect Cindy. But Antonio Greco was smarter than they thought. The attack came from inside. One of the guards, someone Romeo had trusted for years, had been bought. He disabled the security system, let in Antonio's men. Cindy heard the commotion, locked herself in the bedroom. Her phone was dead. The landline cut. She was alone. A contraction hit. Sharp, sudden, terrifying. No, she whispered. Not now. Please, not now. The bedroom door crashed open. Antonio Greco stood there, gun in hand, smiling. Mrs. Moretti, so lovely to finally meet properly. Another contraction, stronger. Antonio noticed. Oh, is it time? How perfect. Romeo can choose. Come save you and walk into my trap, or stay away and listen to you die in childbirth. He made the call, setting up a video feed so Romeo could watch. Romeo was in the car when the video connected. He saw Cindy, saw her pain, saw Antonio's gun. You have 20 minutes to get here, Antonio said. Unarmed, alone, or I shoot her and let you watch her bleed. I'm coming, Romeo said immediately. Don't touch her. Romeo, no! Cindy screamed through another contraction. It's a trap! He'll kill you! I don't care. Romeo's voice broke. I'm coming, Cindy. Hold on. Marco grabbed his arm. You can't. It's suicide. Then I die. Romeo's eyes were wild. I die, but she lives. The baby lives. That's all that matters. He drove like a demon, breaking every traffic law, his heart in his throat. When he arrived at the location, an abandoned warehouse, Antonio's men were waiting. They took his weapons, beat him until he could barely stand, then dragged him inside. Cindy was there, tied to a chair, crying, in labor. "Romeo," she sobbed. I'm here, baby." He tried to go to her, but they held him back. Antonio smiled. "How touching. Now, Romeo, you're going to watch me kill the woman you love. Then I'll take the baby, if it survives, and raise it as my own. Teach it to hate the Moretti name. Poetic, don't you think?" He raised his gun toward Cindy. Romeo screamed, fighting against his captors with superhuman strength, and then the windows exploded. Marco, Vincent, and 20 men stormed in. They'd followed Romeo, ignored his orders, come anyway. Gunfire erupted. Antonio's men fell. In the chaos, Romeo broke free, tackled Antonio. They fought brutally. Antonio was younger, fresher. Romeo was beaten, exhausted. But Romeo had something Antonio didn't, everything to lose. Romeo's hands found Antonio's throat. Squeezed. Didn't let go even as Antonio clawed at him, even as his face turned purple. "You threatened my family," Romeo growled. "You die." Antonio went limp. Romeo released him, stumbled to Cindy, cut her bonds with shaking hands. "Hospital," she gasped. "Now, the baby's coming." They barely made it. Cindy was rushed into delivery. The baby was coming early, fast, dangerous. Romeo held her hand through it all, whispering encouragement, prayers, promises. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry for all of this." "Shut up and tell me I can do this," Cindy panted. "You can do this. You're the strongest person I know. You survived me. You can survive anything." She laughed through tears. "Damn right." At 3:47 a.m. their daughter was born. Small but healthy. Perfect. Screaming with the fury of someone who'd fought her way into the world. The nurse placed her in Cindy's arms. Romeo stared at them both like he'd never seen anything so beautiful. "What do we name her?" Cindy whispered. Romeo touched his daughter's tiny hand. She gripped his finger with surprising strength. "Sophia," he said. "It means wisdom. After everything we've been through, maybe wisdom is what we need most." "Sophia Moretti," Cindy tested. "Perfect." Romeo kissed them both, his entire world in his arms. "I promise," he told his daughter, "you'll never know the violence I knew. You'll grow up safe, loved, free. Whatever it costs me, I'll give you that." Sophia yawned, utterly unimpressed with her father's dramatic declarations. And for the first time since his own childhood, Romeo Moretti cried. Not from pain or rage, from joy. The wedding took place 6 months after Sophia was born, on a private beach in the Bahamas. Small, intimate, just family and the few friends who'd survived Romeo's transformation from mob boss to businessman. Cindy wore simple white, Sophia sleeping in Maria's arms nearby. Romeo looked at his bride like she hung the moon. "I, Romeo Moretti, take you, Cindy Matthews, to be my wife," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I promise to love you in the light and the darkness, to choose you every day, to build a life worthy of you and our daughter." Cindy's vows were simpler. "I choose you, all of you, the monster and the man, today and always." They kissed as husband and wife while Sophia woke up and cried, perfectly timing her objection to being left out. The reception was on the beach, music and laughter, and the kind of joy Romeo had forgotten existed. Marco gave a toast. To Romeo, who taught us that the strongest men aren't afraid to change, and to Cindy, who had the courage to love a man everyone else feared. Later, Romeo and Cindy walked along the beach, Sophia between them in a carrier. "Are you happy?" Cindy asked. "Terrified," Romeo admitted. "I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for someone to attack, for the past to come back. But yes, I'm happy, happier than I ever thought possible." He stopped, pulled her close. "You saved me, Cindy. You know that. We saved each other." They stood there, the ocean whispering against the shore, their daughter sleeping peacefully, the future uncertain but theirs. Back in Chicago, The legitimate Moretti empire grew. Romeo opened a foundation for at-risk youth, giving kids from violent neighborhoods another path. He consulted with police on gang prevention. The irony wasn't lost on him. A former mob boss fighting crime. Isabella appeared one last time at the foundation's opening. "I underestimated you," she told Romeo quietly. "You actually did it. Walked away. Built something real. I had help." He looked at Cindy across the room, holding Sophia. "She's good for you. I can admit that now." Isabella smiled sadly. "I hope you're happy, Romeo." "Truly, I am." "Good. Then maybe all that blood meant something after all." She left, and Romeo never saw her again. 5 years later, Sophia started kindergarten. Romeo walked her to class, this dangerous man brought to his knees by his 5-year-old daughter's tears at leaving him. "Daddy, don't go," she whispered. "I'll be right here when you get out, Principessa. I promise." Watching through the classroom window, Cindy smiled at her husband, gray touching his temples now, laugh lines around his eyes, his gun long since retired. "He's going to cry when she graduates," Maria predicted, standing beside her. "He's going to cry when she goes to first grade," Cindy corrected. That night, after Sophia was asleep, Romeo and Cindy sat on their balcony overlooking the city. "Do you ever miss it?" Cindy asked. "The power? The danger?" Romeo considered. "Sometimes I miss the certainty, knowing exactly who I was, what I was capable of." He took her hand. "But then I look at you, at Sophia, at the life we've built, and I realize I was never more powerful than I am now." "How do you figure?" "Because now I have something worth protecting, something that makes me more than just a monster." He kissed her softly. "You gave me that, a reason to be better." "We gave each other that," Cindy corrected. "I was drowning before you, lost. You gave me purpose too." They sat in comfortable silence. The city they'd once feared, now just home. Sophia would grow up never knowing her father's violent past. She'd go to good schools, have normal problems, make her own choices. And Romeo would watch over her, this former king of Chicago's underworld, now just a dad who couldn't say no to ice cream before dinner. "I love you," Cindy said into the quiet. "I love you more," Romeo replied. "Impossible. Want to bet?" She laughed. "What are the stakes?" "Winner gets to choose Sophia's bedtime story tomorrow night. Deal, and I'm definitely winning." They went inside, checking on their daughter one more time. Her dark hair splayed across the pillow, her father's determined chin, her mother's smile. The monster had found his humanity. The waitress had found her king. And together, they'd built something neither violence nor poverty could destroy: a family, a home, a love worth every sacrifice. 10 years after that fateful day with the car window and the spinach, Cindy stood in the kitchen of their suburban home, preparing breakfast for their now 2 children, Sophia, 11, and Marco Jr., 7, named after Romeo's cousin who'd become family. Romeo appeared, suited up for another day at Moretti Enterprises, now a multi-million-dollar legitimate restaurant and real estate empire. "Morning, Mrs. Moretti," he said, kissing her neck. "Morning, Mr. Domestic," she teased. "Daddy," Marco Jr. raced in. "Can we go to the park today?" "After your sister's soccer game, yes." Sophia appeared, already in her uniform. "Mom, have you seen my cleats?" "Where you left them, by the door." The chaos of a normal family morning. Romeo caught Cindy's eye across the kitchen and smiled. This was everything. At Sophia's game, Romeo sat in the stands with other parents, cheering too loudly, getting too invested in 11-year-old soccer. "Moretti, you're going to give yourself a heart attack," another dad joked. "That's my daughter out there. I'm allowed to be intense." Cindy laughed beside him. "You threatened a referee at her last game. He made a bad call. She's 11. It doesn't matter." "It always matters." But Romeo smiled, pulling her close. "Fine, I'll try to be less me. Never be less you. Just maybe dial it down from mob boss to concerned dad." "I was never a mob boss," Romeo said loudly for nearby parents' benefit. Then quieter. Officially. After the game, Sophia's team won. Romeo was insufferable. They went to the park. Marco Jr. played while Sophia read under a tree, already showing signs of being more intellectual than athletic. "She's like you," Romeo told Cindy. "Smart, sees through bullshit. And Marco's like you, all heart and intensity. God help us both." An elderly man approached them on the bench. Someone Romeo didn't recognize immediately. Then he did. Vincent. Retired now, living in Florida. "Romeo Moretti. Never thought I'd see you at a suburban park." Romeo stood, embraced him. "Vincent, what brings you to Chicago?" "Visiting family. Heard you were doing well. Wanted to see for myself." Vincent looked at Cindy, the kids. "You did it. You actually got out." "I did." "Any regrets?" Romeo looked at his family, Cindy laughing at something Marco said, Sophia showing her brother her book, the sun setting over ordinary Chicago suburbs. "Not one," Romeo said. "Not a single one." Vincent nodded. "Good. Your father would be, well, probably confused. But I think eventually proud." After he left, Cindy asked, "Do you think about them? Your old life?" "Sometimes. Usually when I'm signing contracts or sitting in traffic. Times when the old me would have solved problems with violence instead of lawyers." "Do you miss it? The power? Sometimes. The simplicity of fear and respect?" "Maybe." He pulled her close. "But then I remember what it cost. The nightmares, the paranoia, never trusting anyone, and I realize I traded an empire of fear for a kingdom of love. Best deal I ever made." "Even though I used your car as a mirror?" Romeo laughed. "Especially because of that. You were so real, so unimpressed with me, so... you. I was desperate and broke. You were perfect." He kissed her. "You still are." That night, after the kids were asleep, Romeo found Cindy in their home office, working on the foundation's fundraiser. "Come to bed," he said. "In a minute. I need to finish." "Cindy." He turned her chair around. "It can wait." She saw something in his eyes. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Everything's right. That's what's strange." He pulled her up, held her. "I'm happy. Genuinely, completely happy. And it terrifies me." "Why?" "Because I don't deserve it. All the things I've done, the people I've hurt." "Stop." Cindy cupped his face. "You've paid for your past. You've changed. You've built something good. You're allowed to be happy." "Are you happy?" "Deliriously, exhaustingly, completely." She kissed him. "You gave me everything I never knew I needed. A home, a family, a love that makes sense of all the chaos." "I love you," Romeo whispered. "More than I've ever loved anything." "I know." "I love you too, my beautiful monster." He smiled at the old nickname. "I'm not a monster anymore. No, you're just mine." Years continued to pass. Sophia got into Harvard. Marco Jr. became a chef like his namesake. Cindy and Romeo grew old together, their love deepening with each ordinary day. On their 20th anniversary, Romeo took Cindy back to that street corner where it all started, where she'd used his car as a mirror. "Remember this?" he asked. "How could I forget? Most embarrassing moment of my life. Best moment of mine." Romeo pulled out a small box. Inside, a new ring, an upgrade from the one he'd given her on the lake. "Romeo, you didn't have to." "I wanted to. I wanted to mark 20 years of choosing you, of being chosen by you." He slipped it on her finger. 20 more. 20,000 more, Cindy promised. They stood there, two people who shouldn't have worked, in a love that defied logic, having built a life that proved redemption was real. "Do you ever wonder," Cindy asked, "what would have happened if I'd used a different car's window that day?" Romeo considered. "Then some other lucky bastard would have you and I'd still be a monster. Cold, alone, probably dead by now. So I saved you. You absolutely saved me." He kissed her forehead. "You took a broken, violent man and taught him how to be human again. How to love. How to live for something other than fear and power. And you, Cindy said, took a broke, desperate woman and showed her she was worth fighting for, worth protecting, worth loving. We saved each other, Romeo said. We did. They walked back to their car, a modest sedan now, no bulletproof glass, no hidden weapons, just a normal car for a normal family. Hey, Romeo, Cindy said as they drove home. Yeah? Thanks for not shooting me when I used your car as a mirror. He laughed. Thanks for having spinach in your teeth. Made you human, made me curious. We're ridiculous. We're perfect. And they were. A waitress and a mob boss. A desperate woman and a dangerous man. Two broken pieces that shouldn't have fit, but did, creating something neither violence nor poverty could destroy. A love story that started with a car window and spinach, and ended with everything they'd ever needed. Each other. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.